What would you do if your parents gave your twin sister a luxury apartment while handing you keys to a condemned house, then demanded you give them the home you rebuilt with your bare hands? I'm Sarah Mitchell. I'm 28 years old, and this is the story of how my family tried to steal my future. But what they didn't know was that I held all the cards from the very beginning. If this resonates with you, hit that like button. And tell me in the comments where you're watching from right now. You're going to want to see how this ends. 3 months ago, I sat at my parents' dining table for what they called a special family announcement. My father, Richard, 62, former finance executive, stood at the head like he was chairing a board meeting. My mother, Patricia, wore her practiced smile. And across from me sat Emily, my twin sister, their golden child. "We're giving you both a head start," Richard announced, sliding 2 envelopes across the polished wood. Emily opened hers first. A key to a 2-bedroom condo in the Marina District. Market value, $290,000. She screamed with joy. My mother embraced her, both of them laughing like they'd won the lottery. I opened mine. 1 rusted key. A piece of paper with an unfamiliar address. "What is this?" I asked. "It needs work," Richard said flatly. "But you're good with your hands." That was it. No explanation, no apology, just a dismissal. Emily tilted her head, mock sympathy dripping from her voice. "At least you got something, Sarah." I should have challenged them right there. But I'd spent 28 years being the accommodating daughter, the one who never made waves. That was about to change. The next morning, I drove 45 minutes into farm country. When I found the property, my heart sank. The roof sagged dangerously. Windows were shattered and covered with yellowed plastic. The porch was collapsing. Waist-high weeds choked the yard. The entire structure leaned like it was about to give up. Inside was worse. Exposed wiring dangled from ceilings. Rusted pipes leaked brown water. The kitchen floor buckled under my weight. The smell of mildew and decay was overwhelming. I sat on the one intact porch step and called Jake, my best friend since college, now a real estate attorney. "How bad?" he asked. "Uninhabitable. No water, no power, structural damage everywhere." "Want me to check the deed?" "Not yet," I whispered, fighting tears. "I just need a minute." That night, I calculated the costs. Roof, plumbing, electrical, floors, walls, $38,000 minimum. My savings, $2,800. But I'm a furniture maker and carpenter. I've worked with wood since I was 16. What if I did most of it myself? I made a plan. I'd rebuild this wreck with my own hands. For 10 weeks, I lived in my workshop and worked on that house every spare moment. I tore out rotted floors on my hands and knees, hauled debris, installed new subfloors, repaired the roof, hung drywall, built custom kitchen cabinets with dovetail joints and white oak, restored the original fireplace surround, painted every wall. My neighbor Ruth, a woman in her 60s, watched me work and brought me water. "This land used to belong to Margaret Mitchell," she said one day. "She your grandmother?" My stomach dropped. "Yes. How did you know?" "Lived here 30 years, honey. I know who owned what." I filed that information away, not understanding its significance yet. By week 10, my savings were gone. Every penny embedded in that house. But it was transformed. Professional-grade kitchen, smooth walls, solid floors, new windows that caught the morning light. I posted before and after photos online. The comments poured in. "Incredible work." "You did this yourself?" "Absolutely stunning." Then my father showed up unannounced. He walked through slowly, inspecting everything with cold eyes. He ran his finger along the mantel I'd restored, opened cabinet doors, examined my craftsmanship. "Not bad," he finally said. "But don't get too attached." My blood turned to ice. "What does that mean?" He looked at me with flat, unreadable eyes. I said what I said. The way he looked at the house wasn't pride. It was appraisal. 2 days later, I stopped by Emily's condo to pick up tools I'd lent her. Outside her door were 11 Amazon packages, designer clothes, electronics, luxury items piled high. Through the door crack, I heard her on the phone. "Mom, I just need more time. The credit card company keeps calling. No, I haven't told Dad. Please don't tell him. My mother's voice through the speaker. We'll figure it out, sweetheart. Don't worry. I left quietly, but a memory surfaced. Age 16, I caught Emily stealing from Grandma Margaret's purse. When I told Richard, he turned on me. Stop making up lies about your sister. I learned then that truth only mattered when it came from the right daughter. Thursday evening, Richard and Patricia appeared at my door without warning. Patricia drifted through the rooms I'd rebuilt, touching walls, opening cabinets, cataloging everything like an appraiser. Richard planted himself in the living room. We've been talking. Emily needs this house. The room spun. Excuse me? There were complications with her apartment, Patricia said softly. She can't stay there anymore. What complications? Richard ignored the question. The deed is still in my name. This is my property. You have 48 hours to move out. My hands shook. I rebuilt this house. Every wall, every floor. My property. Richard cut me off. My land. My decision. Patricia stepped closer. We'll make it up to you, honey. This is what's best for the family. I looked at them both. My mother, who wouldn't meet my eyes. My father, who'd already decided. I need to make a phone call. At 11 that night, I sat on the kitchen floor I'd installed and called Jake. What happened? He answered immediately. I told him everything. The 48-hour eviction. Emily needs this house. My land. My decision. Jake was quiet for exactly 3 seconds. When he spoke, his voice had shifted into lawyer mode. Is the deed in his name? He says so. He never showed me paperwork. Did you receive any transfer documents? Anything notarized? No. He said he'd handle it. That's problem 1. Problem 2. Who actually owns the land? Ruth's words echoed in my mind. My neighbor said this land belonged to my grandmother. Used to or still does? I don't know. Give me 24 hours. Don't sign anything. Don't respond to your father. Can you do that? I wasn't planning to. Good. And Sarah? I've been waiting for you to let me help. I hung up, tears streaming down my face. Within hours, my phone exploded. 17 messages from family members I barely spoke to, all saying the same thing. How can you be so selfish? Family comes first. Your mother is in tears. They'd mobilized the entire family against me. Richard called the next morning, his voice ice cold. If you fight this, you won't just lose the house. You'll lose your family. I set the phone down and picked up my tools. For the first time in my life, I chose not to make things easier for him. Jake called at 4 that afternoon. No greeting. Sarah, the land was never in Richard's name. I stopped sanding mid-stroke. What? It's held in a trust, a revocable living trust established in 2010. The grantor and trustee is Margaret Mitchell, your grandmother. The sole beneficiary is you. The room tilted. Me? You. The county recorder has no deed transfer to Richard Mitchell. The land and everything on it belongs to the trust. It's yours. I couldn't breathe. I hadn't spoken to Grandma Margaret in nearly 2 years. Richard said she was getting confused, that calling would stress her out. He said it so often I stopped trying. With shaking hands, I dialed her number. Hello? Her voice was thinner than I remembered, but clear. Grandma, it's Sarah. Silence. Then, I was waiting for this call, sweetheart. I told her everything. The house, the renovation, the 48-hour eviction. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she said, I set up that trust for you when you turned 18. Not for your father, not for Emily. For you. Because I saw how they treated you, baby. I saw it and I planned for it. I was crying openly now. Grandma, thank you. I'm old, Sarah, but I'm not gone yet. And that land is yours. There's one more thing I need to tell you, but not on the phone. I'm coming to see you. She hung up before I could argue. The next morning, my Aunt Carol called from a bathroom with the water running. Sarah, listen carefully. Your mother is planning a housewarming party tomorrow, at your house, for Emily. She's invited 20 people and telling everyone you agreed to give Emily the house, that it was your idea. My chest tightened. Why are you telling me this? Because I've watched this family punish you for being easy to punish. It's not right. It never was. I called Jake. 2 words. It's tomorrow. I'll be there. So will your grandmother. She's already driving. That night, I sat in my workshop, running sandpaper over wood, finding calm in the familiar rhythm. You know that feeling when your entire family constructs a story about you, where you're the villain, and then invites an audience to watch you play your part? Tomorrow, I'd walk into my own house, either for the last time or the first. I arrived at 9. My front door, the one I'd stripped and refinished, was propped open. Inside, the house was transformed. Throw pillows I didn't buy, new tablecloth, food covering my counters, pink and gold balloons, a glitter banner, "Welcome home, Emily." 20 people filled the rooms. Aunts, uncles, cousins, neighbors, all holding plates, chatting like this was normal, like this was a celebration. Emily stood center stage, hair perfect, new dress, laughing. Richard had his hand on her shoulder. When he saw me, his voice carried, "Sarah came to congratulate her sister. That's what family does." 20 smiling faces turned to me like heat lamps. Patricia appeared with lemonade. "Be gracious, honey." My great-aunt patted my arm. "Such a generous thing, giving your sister this beautiful house." I looked at her. "I didn't give anyone anything." The patting stopped. Richard's voice dropped. "Sarah, not here." Emily glided over. "Liv, we talked about this. It's for the best." I looked around. 20 people. Not one knew the truth, and every single one saw me as the villain. Then, in the kitchen, my kitchen, Emily dropped her mask. "You should thank me, honestly." I turned. "For what?" "For giving you a reason to finally do something with your life." She examined her nails. "You'd still be sanding chairs in that sad workshop if not for me." My jaw clenched. "I built this kitchen, every cabinet, with my hands." She shrugged. "And now they're mine. That's how this family works, Sarah. I thought you understood by now." She opened a cabinet. Inside, my mother's dishes, already unpacked, already at home. Emily poured water from the faucet I'd connected and looked at me over the rim. "Dad said you can take your tools when you leave. I don't need them." She walked back to the living room. Richard's voice rose. "If I could have everyone's attention, please." He stood by the fireplace I'd restored, raising a glass. "To family, and to Emily's beautiful new home." 20 glasses lifted. "To Emily." I stood in the back, hands clenched, throat burning. Then came 3 sharp knocks at the door. I crossed the room and opened it. Jake stood there in a gray suit, briefcase in hand. Behind him, moving slowly with a carved cane, was my grandmother Margaret, 78 years old, silver hair, eyes like cut glass. Richard's voice cracked. "Who invited you?" Jake stepped inside. "No one. I'm Miss Mitchell's legal counsel." "She doesn't need a lawyer. This is a family matter. Property transfer is a legal matter, Mr. Mitchell." The room went silent. 20 people frozen mid-bite. Margaret walked in slowly. She surveyed the room, the balloons, the banner, the celebration in the house her granddaughter built. She read the glitter letters aloud. "Welcome home, Emily." Then she turned to Richard. The room held its breath. "Richard," she said quietly, clearly, "whose land do you think this is?" Richard's mouth opened. Nothing came out. Margaret pulled out a chair and sat. "Sit down, son. You're going to want to sit for this." Jake opened his briefcase. The click of the latches was the loudest sound in the room. He pulled out a document, crisp and notarized, and set it on the table for everyone to see. "This property is held in a revocable living trust established by Margaret Mitchell in 2010. The sole beneficiary is Sarah Mitchell." Richard stepped forward. "That's not possible." "I gave you nothing, Richard." Margaret's voice cut like a blade. "I let you use the address for mail. I let you believe what you wanted, but I never transferred the title. It was never yours." Jake continued. "Furthermore, every building permit, Every invoice, every receipt for the renovations is filed under Sarah Mitchell's name. She is the legal owner of all improvements. Patricia's voice cracked. Mother, how could you do this to us? Margaret looked at her daughter-in-law steadily. I did this for Sarah because you two couldn't. The shift was instant. 20 people who'd walked in thinking this was a housewarming realized they'd been invited to witness a lie. Then Emily stepped forward, shaking. This doesn't change anything. Mom and Dad said, Emily, be quiet, Richard snapped. No! Her voice went high, desperate. I need this house. I don't have anywhere else to go. The room froze. Richard turned to her slowly. What do you mean? The apartment. I lost it. I couldn't keep up with the payments. Richard stared at her, then at Patricia. You lost the apartment? The one I gave you 3 months ago? Patricia's chin dropped. Richard, I was going to tell you. You knew. The room erupted. Richard's face cycled through shock, betrayal, fury. Emily was crying, real tears, mascara streaking. Patricia reached for Richard's arm. He pulled away like she'd burned him. People started gathering coats and keys, mumbled goodbyes. No one looked at Richard or Emily. They looked at me, quick, uncertain glances, then away. I stood in the corner, my grandmother's hand in mine. Richard finally turned to me, his voice broken. You planned this. I met his eyes. No, Dad, you planned this. I just showed up. The house emptied. Paper plates abandoned. Half-eaten food. A balloon drifting across the floor. Jake handed Richard a white envelope. This is a formal cease and desist. You are not to enter this property without Sarah's written consent. Any attempt to claim ownership will be reported to the authorities. Richard stared at the envelope but didn't take it. Jake set it on the coffee table. Everything is documented. The law is clear. Patricia turned to me, eyes swollen. Sarah, please. Please what, Mom? Please give up. Please be the easy one again. Please fold. Instead, I said, Mom, I love you, but loving someone doesn't mean letting them take everything from you. Patricia's face crumbled. Richard stood and walked out without a word. Patricia followed. Their car started. Gravel crunched. Then silence. Jake touched my shoulder. You okay? I looked around the room. The crooked banner. The abandoned cups. Not yet, I said. But I will be. That evening, I changed the locks myself. 4 screws, a new deadbolt, brass handle. Just hardware, but it felt like drawing a line in concrete. Ruth came over with yellow flowers. I always knew that house was yours. Your grandparents built it together in '67. I watched them carry the lumber. I held the flowers, letting that settle. My grandparents' hands on this same frame. My grandmother's trust protecting it. My hands finishing what theirs started. I cleaned up, tore down the banner, swept floors, loaded leftover food for Ruth. Then I sat in the center of the living room I'd rebuilt. Perfect silence. The first silence that wasn't fear. While clearing my mother's things, I found a letter. Yellowed envelope, my grandmother's handwriting, dated 5 years ago. My dear Sarah, your grandfather and I built that house together in 1967. I always meant for it to go to someone who would love it the way we did. It was always meant for you. Richard had hidden it. 5 years of my grandmother's words stuffed behind someone else's coats. The fallout was slow but steady. Great Aunt Helen stopped returning Richard's calls, embarrassed to share his last name. My cousin Katie called to apologize. I always thought something was off. I'm sorry no one stood up for you sooner. Richard's position at Grace Lutheran, built on his image as a devoted family man, quietly disappeared. The pastor simply stopped calling. Patricia went dark on social media. No more blessed family posts. Emily got her first collections call, then her second. Without Richard and Patricia running interference, $62,000 of debt had only her name on it. Then, an email arrived from Homestead and Craft magazine. They'd found my renovation photos online. They wanted to feature the house. The work my father said wasn't a career was about to be published nationally. Richard called one Thursday afternoon. We need to talk. Your grandmother isn't thinking clearly. She's old. We should contest the trust. I closed my eyes. She set up that trust with her own attorney over a decade ago. Grandma Margaret is perfectly competent. You know that. Silence. I'm your father. That land should have been mine. It was never yours, Dad. I set down my tools. And neither am I. Long pause. You're making a mistake. The same dismissive tone he'd used when I became a carpenter instead of going into finance. No, I kept my voice even. I made a mistake every time I believed you'd treat me fairly. That's over now. I ended the call. Setting boundaries with someone you love isn't the triumphant moment people think. It's quiet, lonely, and sometimes the bravest thing you can say is simply, enough. 2 weeks later, Emily appeared on my porch. No makeup, hair in a knot, wearing an oversized sweatshirt she'd normally never be caught in, eyes swollen, looking years older. I'm not here to ask for the house, she said at the bottom of the steps. Then why? I don't know how to fix my life, Sarah. Her voice was raw, no performance. I owe $62,000, collections calls every morning. I haven't slept in a week. I looked at my twin sister. For the first time, I didn't see the golden child. I saw someone who'd been handed everything and taught nothing, someone who never learned to build because she never had to. I can't fix that for you, I said, but I can give you the number of a financial counselor Jake knows. The rest is on you. She nodded, wiped her face, turned to go. At the bottom step, she stopped and pulled a small box from her bag, setting it on the railing. I'm sorry, she said. For the kitchen. For all of it. I looked at her. I hear you. I didn't say I forgive you. I wasn't there yet, and I didn't owe anyone forgiveness on their timeline. After she left, I opened the box. 2 thin silver bracelets. Grandma Margaret gave them to us when we were 8. Emily had kept both for 15 years. 1 month later, the Homestead and Craft article ran. 4 pages, 12 photos. From ruin to remarkable, how one woman rebuilt a 1967 home with her own hands. The center spread showed my kitchen, before and after. Within a week, I had 3 custom furniture commissions. My workshop finally got a name, Mitchell Woodworks. Jake called to congratulate me. Trust is fully recorded, title insurance done, no one can touch it. Thank you, Marcus, for everything. That's what friends are for. A beat. You called the electrician, right? I laughed. Done. Full panel replacement. Inspection passed. The community center asked me to teach a woodworking workshop for women. I said yes. The class filled in 3 days. Margaret came to stay for a week in May. She arrived with marigolds, potting soil, and a photo album I'd never seen. We planted flowers in the front yard, side by side on our knees, the way she'd taught me to work wood. Slow, steady, with your whole hand. This is the exact spot where your grandfather and I planted our first garden in 1967, she said, pressing soil around a seedling. Marigolds and zinnias, the same flowers. I found your letter, I told her, the one Dad hid. She didn't look up. I wrote 3 letters. He hid all of them. But you're here now, baby. That's what matters. 3 letters, 3 attempts to reach me. 3 times Richard decided I didn't deserve to hear from the woman who loved me most. We sat on the porch when the sun got low. Ruth brought lemonade without being asked. It had become a ritual. Margaret reached over and took my hand, her grip iron-strong despite her paper-thin skin. The best revenge isn't revenge at all, she said. It's the life you build after. I looked out at the yard, the marigolds, fresh paint, the house that was a ruin 4 months ago. I know, Grandma. She squeezed my hand. I know you do. A week after Margaret left, I wrote an email. Mom, Dad, I love you. That hasn't changed. But I will not accept being treated as less than. I will not be the daughter you take from to give to someone else. I will not shrink so someone else can fill the space. If you want a relationship with me, it starts with respect, not control, not obligation, not guilt. I'm not closing the door, but I'm choosing who gets to walk through it. Sarah. I hit send. No reply came. Not that day, not that week. And for the first time, I was okay with the silence, because it was my silence. I chose it. It wasn't pushed on me. Friday evening, I sat in the living room. Through the window, Ruth's porch light, the marigolds, the road to town where 3 clients waited for furniture I designed. In my workbench drawer, 2 silver bracelets, the ones Emily returned. I don't wear them, but I haven't thrown them away. Someday, they might mean something different. I looked around the room. Every surface tells a story. The floors my knees remember, the walls my arms ache from, the cabinets my grandmother's hands inspired. This isn't the house my parents gave me. That house was a ruin, a punishment, a message that said, "You are worth less." This house is the one I built, and I decide what it means. You know, when I started this story, I thought the house was the point, the renovation, the trust deed, the moment Richard's face went white in front of 20 people. And yeah, that mattered. All of it mattered. But sitting here now on this porch my grandparents built and my hands rebuilt, I realized the house was never really the thing. The thing was the moment I stopped waiting for my family to see my worth and started building it for myself. I spent 28 years being the easy one, the one who folds, the one who absorbs. I told myself that was love, that keeping the peace was the same as being at peace. It's not. It's just silence with a nicer name. I won't tell you what to do with your family. I don't know your story, but I'll tell you 3 things I wish someone had told me long ago. 1. Boundaries aren't punishment. They're doors, and you decide who walks through. 2. Your hands know things your head hasn't figured out yet. Sometimes you have to start building before you believe you can. 3. You don't owe anyone a version of yourself that makes their life more comfortable at the cost of your own. That's it. That's what the ruin taught me. Now I'm curious. If you had to pick one moment from this story that hit you hardest, which was it? The housewarming confrontation? The trust reveal? Emily on the porch with that box? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every single one. If you want more stories like this, check the link in the description. Hit subscribe if this meant something to you. I'll see you next time.